Socrates remains one of the most influential figures in human history, yet his life and philosophy are wrapped in paradoxes. This is a man who wrote nothing, yet his ideas have shaped centuries of thought. Living in the vibrant city of Athens during the 5th century BC, a time of great intellectual, political, and cultural growth, Socrates stood out not because of wealth, power, or status, but because of his relentless questioning of the world around him. Athens was a bustling hub of art, democracy, and philosophy, a city where the brightest minds gathered. But Socrates dared to question what others took for granted, laying the foundation for Western philosophy. What made Socrates so enigmatic was his belief that wisdom began with admitting one's ignorance. His famous statement, "I know that I know nothing," encapsulates a profound humility that resonates deeply even today. In a world saturated with information, where people often mistake knowledge for wisdom, Socrates' approach reminds us of the importance of questioning what we know and seeking deeper truths. This philosophy was not just an abstract idea for Socrates, it was a way of life. He walked barefoot, dressed modestly, and lived simply, embodying his rejection of materialism and superficial values. These traits made him a living contradiction in a city that celebrated wealth, power, and appearances. One of the defining aspects of Socrates' philosophy was the Socratic Method, a process of inquiry that involved asking probing questions to expose contradictions and deepen understanding. This method wasn't just about dismantling false beliefs. It was about helping people think critically and arrive at their own truths. Imagine a modern scenario. You're in a heated debate about the best way to address climate change. Instead of presenting a definitive argument, Socrates might ask, "What do you mean by best? What assumptions are we making about the problem? Can we agree on what success looks like?" Through these questions, he would guide the discussion toward a more nuanced and thoughtful understanding. Socrates' approach often unsettled people. He questioned politicians, poets, and craftsmen, exposing their ignorance while highlighting their inability to admit it. For example, when a politician claimed to have all the answers about governance, Socrates would dissect their arguments, revealing flaws in their reasoning. This made him both admired and despised in Athens. To some, he was a gadfly, a necessary irritant that provoked deeper thought. To others, he was a dangerous figure who undermined authority and traditional values. Interestingly, Socrates' life is known to us through the writings of others, primarily Plato, Xenophon, and Aristophanes. Plato's portrayal is that of a devoted student, emphasizing Socrates' wisdom and moral integrity. Xenophon paints a similar picture, focusing on his practical teachings about virtue and simplicity. Aristophanes, on the other hand, provides a comedic but critical view in his play The Clouds, where Socrates is mocked as a sophist who corrupts the youth. This diversity of perspectives adds complexity to our understanding of Socrates, showing that even during his lifetime, he was a polarizing figure. His belief in the connection between knowledge and virtue was another cornerstone of his philosophy. Socrates argued that true knowledge led to virtuous action and that ignorance was the root of evil. This idea is deeply relevant today. Consider situations where people act out of fear or misinformation, whether spreading falsehoods on social media or making harmful decisions based on incomplete data. Socrates would argue that these actions stem from a lack of understanding and that education and self-awareness are the remedies. Socrates also explored the concept of the examined life, famously stating that the unexamined life is not worth living. This idea pushes us to reflect on our values, choices, and purpose. Imagine someone caught in the relentless pursuit of career success, climbing the corporate ladder but feeling unfulfilled. Socrates might ask them to pause and consider, what is the purpose of success? Are you living in alignment with your values? Or are you chasing something that doesn't truly matter to you? Such questions, though uncomfortable, are necessary for personal growth and fulfillment. The final chapter of Socrates' life was marked by his trial and execution, a dramatic event that has become a symbol of intellectual courage. Accused of corrupting the youth and introducing new deities, Socrates defended himself with unwavering conviction. He argued that his questioning was not only harmless but essential for the moral health of Athens. When sentenced to death, he accepted his fate with remarkable composure, drinking the poison hemlock as calmly as one might sip a glass of water. His death was a powerful statement that truth and integrity are worth more than life itself. Socrates' influence extends far beyond his time. His method of questioning has become a cornerstone of education, particularly in law, ethics, and philosophy. His emphasis on humility and self-awareness challenges us to approach life with an open mind, recognizing that wisdom is not about having all the answers, but about seeking them. In a modern context, his teachings encourage us to question societal norms, challenge authority when necessary, and prioritize ethical living over superficial success. To understand Socrates is to grapple with timeless questions about knowledge, virtue, and the meaning of life. His legacy invites us to embrace curiosity, engage in critical thinking, and strive for a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world. Whether in ancient Athens or the digital age, the lessons of Socrates remain profoundly relevant, urging us to live examined lives and pursue wisdom with humility and courage. Socrates, as seen through the eyes of his contemporaries and successors, emerges as a figure of profound complexity, with each portrayal adding a layer of understanding to his enigmatic personality and philosophical approach. The contrasting accounts by Plato, Xenophon, and Aristophanes highlight not only their individual perspectives, but also the multifaceted nature of Socrates himself. Each writer offers a distinct lens through which we can view the philosopher, and these differing narratives continue to provoke debate about who Socrates truly was. Plato, perhaps the most influential chronicler of Socrates, presents him as a wise and morally upright philosopher who was deeply committed to seeking truth and fostering intellectual growth. In Plato's dialogues, Socrates is depicted as a man of immense intellectual depth, tirelessly questioning the assumptions of those around him to uncover greater truths. For example, in the Apology, Plato recounts Socrates' defense during his trial, portraying him as a fearless advocate for justice and integrity. Even in the face of death, Socrates' calm demeanor, his unwavering commitment to his principles, and his refusal to compromise on matters of truth are hallmarks of Plato's depiction. Through dialogues like the Republic and the Symposium, Plato further explores Socratic ideals, such as the pursuit of knowledge, the nature of virtue, and the importance of self-examination. This reverential portrayal has cemented Socrates as a timeless symbol of philosophical inquiry. Xenophon, another admirer of Socrates, offers a more practical and grounded depiction, emphasizing the philosopher's simplicity, humility, and ethical teachings. In Memorabilia, Xenophon describes Socrates as a teacher who focused on guiding others toward virtuous living. He highlights Socrates' disdain for material wealth and his belief that true happiness comes from leading a life of moral excellence. For instance, Xenophon recounts how Socrates lived modestly, dressed simply, and refused to seek payment for his teachings. Unlike the sophists of his time, this simplicity extended to his daily life. He walked barefoot, wore the same coarse cloak year-round, and was indifferent to physical comfort. Xenophon's Socrates is less of an abstract thinker and more of a moral guide, offering practical wisdom that could be applied to everyday life. This portrayal resonates with those who view philosophy as a tool for living well rather than a purely intellectual pursuit. In stark contrast, Aristophanes provides a critical and humorous perspective on Socrates in his play The Clouds. Here, Socrates is caricatured as a sophist who corrupts the youth and engages in absurd intellectual exercises. Aristophanes portrays Socrates as a figure detached from practical reality, someone who spends his time contemplating nonsensical ideas, such as measuring how far a flea can jump or pondering the movement of clouds. This satirical depiction, while exaggerated for comedic effect, reflects some of the public sentiment toward Socrates during his lifetime. Aristophanes' Socrates is not the virtuous seeker of truth seen in Plato or the humble teacher described by Xenophon. Instead, he is a figure of ridicule, embodying the fears and misunderstandings of the Athenian populace about the nature of philosophical inquiry. While this portrayal is less flattering, it is crucial for understanding the societal context in which Socrates lived and the reasons behind his eventual condemnation. The differences in these portrayals also shed light on Socrates' lifestyle and behavior, which were often considered eccentric. Plato and Xenophon celebrate his rejection of materialism and his focus on intellectual and moral pursuits. For instance, both authors recount Socrates' habit of walking barefoot, even in harsh conditions, and his ability to endure extreme weather without complaint. This physical resilience symbolized his indifference to bodily discomfort and his dedication to a life of the mind. Xenophon even notes that Socrates compared himself to a midwife, helping others give birth to their ideas through careful questioning and dialogue. This metaphor underscores Socrates' role as a facilitator of intellectual growth rather than a provider of definitive answers. However, Aristophanes' portrayal of Socrates' eccentricities takes on a more critical tone. In The Clouds, Socrates is shown suspended in a basket, literally above the common concerns of ordinary people, as he contemplates the heavens. This image, while humorous, also reflects the tension between Socrates' philosophical pursuits and the practical, everyday concerns of Athenian society. His disregard for traditional values and his challenges to established norms made him a controversial figure, admired by some and mistrusted by others. One illustrative anecdote that captures Socrates' humility and dedication to philosophy comes from Plato's Symposium, where Socrates is described as standing motionless for hours, lost in thought, during a military campaign. This behavior, while extraordinary, highlights his ability to focus entirely on his inner contemplations, even in the midst of external chaos. Similarly, both Plato and Xenophon describe Socrates' remarkable composure in the face of death, with Plato's Phaedo providing a detailed account of his final moments. Socrates' calm acceptance of his fate, his willingness to drink the hemlock without fear, and his philosophical reflections on the nature of the soul serve as powerful testaments to his character. The interplay between these portrayals also reflects broader themes in Socrates' philosophy, such as the tension between public perception and individual integrity, Plato's idealized image, Xenophon's practical focus, and Aristophanes' satirical critique together illustrate the complexity of Socrates as a historical and philosophical figure. Each perspective offers valuable insights into his life and teachings, revealing a man who was both deeply respected and profoundly misunderstood. These contrasting depictions of Socrates continue to resonate with modern audiences, offering lessons on humility, intellectual courage, and the importance of questioning conventional wisdom. Whether seen as a wise philosopher, a practical moral guide, or a provocative gadfly, Socrates challenges us to think critically about our own beliefs and the world around us. His legacy reminds us that true wisdom lies not in claiming to know, but in the relentless pursuit of understanding a lesson as relevant today as it was in ancient Athens. The Socratic Method is a process of guided questioning designed to stimulate critical thinking, expose assumptions, and encourage deeper understanding. At its core, it is a tool for uncovering the truth by dismantling preconceived notions and exploring ideas from multiple angles. Socrates, the ancient Greek philosopher for whom this method is named, used it not only as a teaching tool but also as a way to engage others in meaningful dialogue about life's most profound questions. By emphasizing questions over answers, the Socratic Method remains a timeless approach to problem-solving, self-exploration, and intellectual growth. The process begins with questioning assumptions. Socrates believed that many people operate on unexamined beliefs, often assuming their views are correct without truly understanding why. By asking probing questions, he sought to uncover the underlying assumptions that shape these beliefs. For example, if someone claimed, "Justice means following the law," Socrates might respond by asking, "Are all laws just? If not, how do we determine which laws are worth following?" These questions encourage the individual to reflect on their initial statement and examine whether it holds up under scrutiny. This practice reveals the implicit assumptions people rely on and forces them to confront the limitations of their thinking. Identifying contradictions is the next step in the Socratic Method. Socrates often engaged his interlocutors in a back-and-forth dialogue, challenging their assertions by pointing out inconsistencies. For instance, consider a hypothetical discussion with someone who asserts, "Happiness comes from wealth." Socrates might ask, "Do all wealthy people seem happy to you? Or can someone without wealth still find happiness?" These questions expose contradictions in the belief that wealth and happiness are intrinsically linked, prompting the individual to reconsider their stance. By highlighting these contradictions, Socrates showed that many commonly held beliefs are not as self-evident as they seem. Encouraging deeper reflection is the hallmark of the Socratic method. Socrates was less concerned with providing answers and more focused on helping others explore their own ideas. He likened his role to that of a midwife, assisting in the birth of new thoughts rather than dictating what those thoughts should be. For example, if a student struggled with the concept of courage, Socrates might ask, "Is courage simply the absence of fear, or is it the ability to act despite fear?" This question does not dictate a specific answer but encourages the student to think critically about what courage truly means. Through this process, individuals are guided toward greater self-awareness and intellectual clarity. To illustrate the Socratic method in action, imagine a contemporary scenario involving a debate about artificial intelligence. Suppose someone claims, "AI will eventually make all human jobs obsolete." A Socratic approach might begin with questions like, "What types of jobs are you referring to? Are there aspects of work that AI cannot replicate?" The dialogue could then explore deeper questions. Does technology always eliminate jobs? Or does it create new ones as well? How do we define the purpose of work? By following this line of inquiry, participants are encouraged to move beyond simplistic conclusions and grapple with the complexity of the issue. The principles of the Socratic method have far-reaching applications in modern life. In education, it serves as a foundation for critical thinking and active learning. Instead of lecturing students with definitive answers, educators can use Socratic questioning to help students explore concepts independently. For example, in a literature class discussing Shakespeare's Hamlet, a teacher might ask, "Why does Hamlet hesitate to avenge his father's death? What does this reveal about his character?" These questions encourage students to analyze the text more deeply and develop their interpretations, fostering a richer understanding of the play. In problem solving, the Socratic method can be a powerful tool for breaking down complex challenges. Consider a business team tasked with addressing declining customer satisfaction. A manager employing the Socratic method might begin by asking, "What do we mean by customer satisfaction? How do we currently measure it?" From there, they could explore potential causes. Are there specific patterns in the feedback we've received? Could internal processes be contributing to the issue? By systematically questioning assumptions and identifying contradictions, the team can uncover root causes and develop more effective solutions. Even in personal relationships, the Socratic method can improve communication and conflict resolution. Imagine a couple arguing about household responsibilities. One partner might say, "You never help with the chores." Instead of reacting defensively, the other partner could ask, "What specific tasks do you feel I'm neglecting? How can we divide responsibilities more fairly?" These questions shift the focus from blame to constructive problem solving, fostering empathy and collaboration. The enduring relevance of the Socratic method lies in its ability to adapt to any context where critical thinking and dialogue are valued. In a world dominated by soundbites and polarized opinions, this approach offers a path to deeper understanding and meaningful conversation. Whether applied to philosophical debates, professional challenges, or personal growth, the Socratic method invites us to embrace curiosity, question assumptions, and strive for greater clarity in our thinking. Socrates' legacy teaches us that wisdom begins with acknowledging what we do not know. The Socratic method embodies this humility, challenging us to approach life's complexities with an open mind and a willingness to learn. By asking the right questions and engaging in thoughtful dialogue, we can uncover new insights, resolve conflicts, and make more informed decisions. In a sense, every conversation is an opportunity to practice the Socratic method, a chance to explore, question, and grow together. Socrates' declaration, "I know that I know nothing," stands as one of the most profound and often misunderstood statements in the history of philosophy. On the surface, it appears to be a paradox, but its depth lies in its invitation to embrace intellectual humility in the relentless pursuit of truth. Socrates recognized that many individuals, including those considered wise by society, often operated under the illusion of knowledge. By admitting his ignorance, Socrates demonstrated a form of wisdom that begins with questioning and self-awareness. This statement is not about embracing ignorance as an ideal, but rather about acknowledging the limits of one's understanding as the first step toward genuine knowledge. The essence of Socrates' philosophy is rooted in the pursuit of humility and intellectual honesty. In a world where certainty is often mistaken for intelligence, Socrates challenged the status quo by showing that admitting one's lack of knowledge is a mark of wisdom, not weakness. Consider a modern context. In debates about complex issues like climate change or artificial intelligence, people frequently assert absolute claims without fully understanding the intricacies of the subject. Socrates would argue that the path to resolving such issues begins with admitting what we do not know. This intellectual humility fosters a mindset of curiosity and openness, allowing for deeper exploration and more thoughtful solutions. Socrates also believed that knowledge and virtue were intrinsically linked. For him, true knowledge led to virtuous action, and ignorance was the root of moral failure. This connection between knowledge and virtue is exemplified in his discussions with various figures in Athens, where he used questioning to reveal not only the flaws in their logic, but also the ethical implications of their beliefs. Socrates held that individuals who truly understood what was good and just would naturally act in alignment with those principles. For instance, he argued that no one willingly does evil. Instead, people commit wrongs because they misunderstand what is good. This idea challenges us to consider the role of education and self-awareness in shaping moral behavior. One of the most famous stories illustrating Socrates' approach is his interaction with a prominent politician in Athens. Socrates sought out this man, who was widely regarded as wise, to understand the nature of his wisdom. Through a series of questions, Socrates uncovered that the politician's so-called wisdom was built on assumptions and superficial knowledge. The man claimed to understand governance and justice, but faltered when Socrates asked him to define these concepts or explain their practical applications. By the end of their dialogue, it was clear that the politician did not truly know what he claimed to know. This interaction highlights the danger of overconfidence and the value of questioning authority. A lesson that resonates in contemporary politics and leadership. Socrates extended his inquiry to poets, who were revered for their creativity and insight. He questioned them about the meaning of their works, only to discover that many of them could not explain their own poetry. While they possessed artistic talent, they lacked the deeper understanding of the ideas they expressed. Socrates concluded that their creativity came not from wisdom, but from an almost divine inspiration. This realization underscores the distinction Socrates made between possessing technical skill or talent and having true knowledge. In a modern parallel, consider how some individuals excel in specific fields such as technology or finance yet struggle to articulate the broader ethical or societal implications of their work. Craftsmen were another group Socrates engaged in dialogue. He admired their practical expertise, but noted that their knowledge was often confined to their trade. For example, a skilled blacksmith might understand the intricacies of forging metal, but assume that this expertise granted them wisdom in unrelated matters. Socrates challenged this assumption by asking questions that revealed gaps in their understanding of broader concepts like justice or virtue. This interaction highlights the importance of recognizing the limits of one's expertise, a lesson that remains relevant in today's age of specialization. It is a reminder that expertise in one area does not necessarily translate into wisdom in others. Through these interactions, Socrates demonstrated that true knowledge requires both depth and breadth. It is not enough to be skilled in a particular domain. One must also understand the ethical and philosophical dimensions of one's actions. This holistic approach to knowledge and virtue challenges the compartmentalization often seen in modern education and professional life. For instance, a tech entrepreneur developing artificial intelligence must consider not only the technical aspects of their work, but also its potential impact on society. privacy, and human dignity. Socrates' philosophy urges us to bridge the gap between technical knowledge and ethical awareness. Socrates' linkage of knowledge and virtue also has profound implications for personal growth. By encouraging individuals to examine their beliefs and actions, he promoted a form of self-improvement that begins with self-awareness. Imagine someone who struggles with a bad habit, such as procrastination. Socrates might ask them to reflect on why they procrastinate, what assumptions underlie their behavior, and what they truly value. This process of questioning could lead to insights that help the person align their actions with their goals and values. In this way, Socratic questioning becomes a tool for achieving greater self-mastery and living a more virtuous life. Another compelling aspect of Socrates' philosophy is his emphasis on the social dimension of knowledge and virtue. He believed that dialogue with others was essential for uncovering the truth. By engaging in conversation, individuals could challenge each other's assumptions, explore new perspectives, and arrive at a deeper understanding. This collaborative approach to knowledge contrasts with the individualistic pursuit of success that often dominates modern culture. It reminds us of the value of community and shared inquiry in addressing complex issues, whether in personal relationships, workplaces, or society at large. Socrates' views on knowledge and virtue also extend to the concept of justice. He argued that a just society depends on individuals who act virtuously and prioritize the common good over personal gain. This idea is particularly relevant in contemporary debates about social justice, environmental sustainability, and corporate responsibility. Socrates would likely challenge us to examine our own roles in these issues, asking questions like, what does it mean to live justly? How do our actions contribute to or undermine the well-being of others? These questions compel us to think critically about our responsibilities as individuals and as members of a global community. The enduring relevance of Socrates' philosophy lies in its ability to provoke reflection and inspire action. His emphasis on humility, self-awareness, and the pursuit of virtue challenges us to live examined lives, guided by a commitment to truth and ethical integrity. In a world often driven by ego, competition, and superficial success, Socrates' teachings remind us of the importance of looking inward, questioning our assumptions, and striving to become better versions of ourselves. His legacy is a call to embrace the journey of lifelong learning and to recognize that the path to wisdom begins with the simple yet profound admission, I know that I know nothing. The trial and death of Socrates stand as one of the most poignant and thought-provoking moments in the history of philosophy. Through Plato's Apology, we gain insight into the charges brought against him, his defense, and the profound way in which he approached his own execution. Socrates was accused of corrupting the youth of Athens and introducing new deities, charges that reflected the societal tensions and misunderstandings of his time. Despite the gravity of the accusations, Socrates maintained his composure, using the trial as an opportunity to teach and provoke thought rather than to save himself. The charges against Socrates stemmed from his lifelong practice of questioning authority and challenging conventional beliefs. His accusers, including Miletus, Anytus, and Lyco, claimed that his teachings led the youth of Athens astray by encouraging them to question traditional values and institutions. Additionally, Socrates was accused of impiety, specifically for not believing in the gods recognized by the state and for introducing new spiritual entities. These accusations reflected deeper anxieties within Athenian society during a period of political instability and cultural change. Socrates' method of relentless questioning made him a controversial figure, both admired and feared, as he exposed the ignorance of those who claimed to possess knowledge. During his defense, Socrates addressed these charges with characteristic wit and logic, turning the courtroom into a stage for philosophical discourse. He began by asserting his belief in the gods, countering the accusation of atheism. He pointed to the existence of a divine voice or daimonion that guided him, a personal spiritual force that he claimed had directed his actions throughout his life. This divine guidance, Socrates argued, was evidence of his deep spiritual connection rather than impiety. He explained that this voice never told him what to do, but often warned him against actions that would lead him astray. Serving as a moral compass, Socrates also tackled the accusation of corrupting the youth by questioning the logic behind it. He asked Meletus, his main accuser, whether anyone would intentionally harm others, knowing that such harm would eventually come back to them. When Meletus admitted that no one would willingly bring harm upon themselves, Socrates argued that if he had corrupted the youth, it must have been unintentional, as no rational person would deliberately harm their own society. This reasoning highlighted the inconsistencies in the prosecution's argument and demonstrated Socrates' skill in dismantling flawed logic through dialogue. One of the most striking aspects of Socrates' defense was his refusal to pander to the jury or plead for his life. He could have chosen to appeal to their emotions, invoking pity or emphasizing his contributions to Athenian society. Instead, he remained steadfast in his principles, declaring that his mission to question and seek truth was a divine calling. He likened himself to a gadfly, sent by the gods to rouse Athens from complacency and encourage its citizens to engage in self-examination. This metaphor emphasized the value of his work, even if it was uncomfortable or unsettling to those in power. Socrates' unyielding commitment to his philosophy extended to his acceptance of the jury's verdict. Found guilty by a narrow margin, he was given the opportunity to propose an alternative punishment, rather than suggesting exile or a fine. Socrates famously proposed that he be rewarded with free meals for life, a privilege typically reserved for Olympic champions. This audacious suggestion underscored his belief in the importance of his work and his unwillingness to compromise his integrity. When the jury sentenced him to death, Socrates accepted the verdict with remarkable equanimity, viewing it as an inevitable consequence of his mission. The execution of Socrates by hemlock remains one of the most dramatic moments in philosophical history. According to Plato's Phaedo, Socrates spent his final hours discussing the nature of the soul and the afterlife with his followers, demonstrating his unshakable commitment to seeking truth even in the face of death. He argued that death should not be feared, as it was either a peaceful state of non-existence or a transition to another realm where the soul would continue its journey. For Socrates, the philosopher's task was to prepare for death by cultivating the soul through the pursuit of wisdom and virtue. As the moment of his execution approached, Socrates maintained his composure, comforting his distraught friends and instructing them to remain true to their own philosophical pursuits. He drank the hemlock calmly, without hesitation, embodying the courage and integrity that had defined his life. His final words, as recorded by Plato, were a request to fulfill a debt by offering a sacrifice to Asclepius, the god of healing. This gesture has been interpreted as a symbol of gratitude for the healing that death would bring, freeing the soul from the limitations of the physical body. The trial and death of Socrates offer profound lessons on courage, integrity, and the pursuit of truth. His refusal to abandon his principles, even in the face of death, serves as a powerful reminder of the importance of living a life guided by one's convictions. Socrates' willingness to question authority and challenge societal norms continues to inspire those who seek to live examined lives, dedicated to truth and justice. In a world where conformity often takes precedence over critical thinking, his legacy remains a beacon of intellectual and moral courage. Socrates' philosophy, though rooted in ancient Athens, remains profoundly relevant in the modern world, offering insights into how we navigate complex dilemmas, embrace humility, and reflect on ethical living. At its core, Socratic thought challenges us to question assumptions, confront contradictions, and engage in lifelong learning. In an era dominated by rapid technological advancement, information overload, and polarized opinions, the Socratic Method provides a timeless framework for critical thinking and ethical reflection. Modern dilemmas often stem from the complexity and interconnectedness of contemporary society. Issues such as climate change, social inequality, and the ethical implications of artificial intelligence require nuanced understanding and collaborative problem-solving. The Socratic Method, with its emphasis on questioning and dialogue, is uniquely suited to address these challenges. For example, in debates about artificial intelligence, it's common to hear sweeping statements like, "AI will solve all our problems," or "AI will destroy humanity." A Socratic approach would involve dissecting these claims with questions such as, what specific problems do we expect AI to solve? What safeguards are in place to prevent harm? What does success in AI development look like? By systematically examining the underlying assumptions and exploring diverse perspectives, the Socratic method helps clarify complex issues and fosters more informed decision-making. This approach is equally valuable in addressing social and ethical dilemmas. Take the ongoing debate about free speech and censorship on social media platforms. Advocates on one side argue that free speech should be absolute, while others contend that harmful content must be regulated. A Socratic dialogue might begin by asking, what do we mean by free speech? How do we define harm in this context? What are the trade-offs between protecting individual rights and ensuring community safety? These questions encourage participants to move beyond polarized positions and engage in a deeper exploration of values, priorities, and potential solutions. The relevance of Socrates' teachings extends beyond public discourse to personal growth and self-awareness. In the age of information overload, where opinions are often mistaken for facts and certainty is celebrated over curiosity, Socrates' humility offers a powerful counterpoint. His admission, "I know that I know nothing," is a reminder that true wisdom begins with acknowledging the limits of one's understanding. This mindset is particularly important today, as access to vast amounts of information can create the illusion of knowledge. For instance, someone might read a few articles about climate science and consider themselves an expert, failing to appreciate the depth and complexity of the field. Socrates' approach encourages us to remain open-minded, question our own assumptions, and seek out diverse perspectives, fostering a culture of lifelong learning and intellectual humility. Ethical reflections on Socrates' views on good and evil also resonate in contemporary morality. Socrates believed that no one willingly does evil. Rather, harmful actions stem from ignorance of what is good. This idea challenges the tendency to label individuals as inherently good or bad, instead emphasizing the role of education and understanding in promoting virtuous behavior. Consider the example of someone spreading misinformation online. Instead of vilifying them, a Socratic approach might ask, what motivates this behavior? Is it a lack of understanding about the consequences, or a deeper need for validation? By focusing on the underlying causes of harmful actions, Socratic ethics encourages empathy and the pursuit of constructive solutions. To illustrate the enduring relevance of Socratic themes, let's consider a modern-day equivalent of challenging authority and accepted norms. Imagine a young scientist working in a large pharmaceutical company who begins to question the ethics of a new drug's development. The company insists that the drug is safe and effective, but the scientist uncovers data suggesting otherwise. Inspired by a Socratic mindset, they start asking difficult questions. What are the long-term effects of this drug? Are we prioritizing profit over patient safety? What responsibility do I have as a scientist to uphold ethical standards? These questions lead the scientist to expose the issue, facing backlash but ultimately sparking a broader conversation about corporate accountability. This story mirrors Socrates' commitment to truth and integrity, even when it comes at great personal cost. Another illustrative example comes from a personal anecdote about the power of questioning. A friend once confided in me about feeling stuck in their career. They believed they were unhappy because they hadn't achieved a promotion they had been chasing for years. Inspired by Socratic questioning, I asked, what does success mean to you? Is it just about the promotion? Or is there something deeper you're seeking? How do you feel about the work itself? These questions prompted them to reflect on their values and priorities, ultimately realizing that their dissatisfaction stemmed not from the lack of a title, but from a misalignment between their work and their passions. This process of self-examination led them to pursue a new career path that was more fulfilling and aligned with their goals. The key takeaway from Socrates' philosophy is the importance of self-reflection and critical thinking. In a world where quick answers and instant gratification often overshadow thoughtful inquiry, Socrates reminds us that the most meaningful insights come from asking the right questions and embracing the complexity of life's challenges. His teachings encourage us to approach problems with curiosity and humility, recognize the value of dialogue and collaboration, and prioritize ethical integrity in our actions. Adopting a Socratic mindset means committing to a life of continuous learning and self-improvement. It means questioning not only the world around us, but also our own beliefs, biases, and assumptions. This approach fosters personal growth, strengthens relationships, and contributes to a more thoughtful and compassionate society. Whether navigating modern dilemmas, pursuing personal goals, or striving for ethical living, the wisdom of Socrates offers timeless guidance, challenging us to live examined lives and seek truth in all its forms. As we conclude this journey into the life and teachings of Socrates, let's take a moment to reflect on the profound impact he has left on philosophy and humanity as a whole. Socrates, a man who never penned a single word, has inspired countless thinkers across millennia with his unwavering commitment to truth, his fearless questioning of authority, and his humble acknowledgement of the limits of human knowledge. His life was not one of grandiose achievement in the traditional sense. He held no office, amassed no fortune, and left no written legacy. Yet his ideas have shaped the very foundation of Western thought and continue to resonate in a world vastly different from the one he knew. Socrates' enduring relevance lies in his timeless lessons. He taught us that wisdom begins with humility, the courage to admit what we do not know. This idea, deceptively simple yet deeply transformative, invites us to approach life with open minds and a willingness to learn. In a world increasingly divided by dogmatic beliefs and polarized opinions, Socrates reminds us of the power of dialogue and the importance of questioning assumptions. Whether it's a heated political debate, a moral quandary, or a personal challenge, the Socratic Method offers a roadmap for thoughtful reflection and meaningful conversation. Beyond his intellectual contributions, Socrates embodies the ideal of living an examined life. His belief that the unexamined life is not worth living challenges us to pause amidst the chaos of modern existence and ask ourselves the big questions. What do we truly value? Are we living in alignment with our principles? What does it mean to live a good life? These are not easy questions, but they are essential ones. And Socrates reminds us that the pursuit of these answers is itself a noble endeavor. Socrates also leaves us with a powerful lesson about courage and integrity. His willingness to face death rather than compromise his principles is a testament to his character and an inspiration to us all. In a world where it is often easier to follow the crowd or prioritize personal gain, Socrates challenges us to stand firm in our values and to seek what is right, even when it comes at a cost. His life and death are a call to embrace authenticity and to pursue a life of purpose and meaning. But Socrates' legacy is not just about philosophy, it's about action. It's about taking these lessons and applying them to our own lives. So, as we part ways today, I want to leave you with a challenge. The next time you find yourself in a situation where the answer seems obvious, take a moment to question it. Ask yourself, is this truly the best way forward? What assumptions am I making? How can I approach this with curiosity and an open mind? By embracing this Socratic mindset, you not only honor his legacy, but also open yourself up to growth, understanding, and transformation. If this exploration of Socrates has sparked your curiosity, consider this your invitation to dive deeper into the world of philosophy. Let Socrates be your guide as you navigate life's complexities. Question the world around you, and strive to become the best version of yourself. Philosophy is not just an abstract discipline for scholars, it's a way of life, a tool for personal growth, and a means of creating a better world. And you, as a seeker of knowledge, have the power to carry this legacy forward. Before you go, I want to extend a heartfelt thank you for joining us on this intellectual journey. Your time and attention mean everything. And we hope this video has inspired you as much as Socrates has inspired humanity. If you enjoyed this exploration, please take a moment to like this video, share it with others who might find it meaningful, and subscribe to our channel for more thought-provoking content. Your support helps us continue to bring you stories and insights that challenge the way we think and live. And here's something exciting: this channel is just getting started. We have so much more planned for you. From deep dives into other great philosophers to explorations of the biggest questions of our time. By subscribing, you'll be joining a growing community of curious minds. all dedicated to learning, questioning, and striving for wisdom. So hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and let's continue this journey together. As we sign off, I'll leave you with one final thought. Socrates believed that the pursuit of truth and virtue was the highest calling. In his words, "An unexamined life is not worth living." Let those words inspire you to examine your own life, to seek wisdom, and to approach the world with courage and curiosity. Because, in the end, the quest for knowledge is not just about understanding the world, it's about understanding ourselves. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Stay curious, stay courageous, and keep questioning.